Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sarah Fenske. As an actor, Ernest Emmanuel Peeples has played a range of characters, from Hamlet to the ghost of Christmas Present. But one role stands out, and that's in a show called Ghost. Ghost has nothing to do with the Patrick Swayze movie beloved by Gen Xers. It's based on the young adult novel by Jason Reynolds. It's now on stage at Metro Theatre, which produces plays aimed at younger audiences here in St. Louis. And Emmanuel plays a character called Lou. Lou is what people used to call an albino. Today we say instead that he has albinism. And that is also true of the actor portraying him. It's a much misunderstood medical condition. And joining us today to talk about Lou as well as this condition is Ernest Emmanuel Peeples. So Emmanuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we're also joined today by the director of Ghost. That's Jacqueline Thompson. Jacqueline, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Emmanuel, I understand that this story really strikes a chord for you. How so?
Well, this is the first play and that I have worked on, or to my knowledge has been published, where a character is explicitly written to have albinism and is also an African American. And, you know, in a world where perception is everything, you don't get to see that very often. And, you know, I'm just so thankful to Jason Reynolds for having this story put out, and then Idris Goodwin to adapting it into this marvelous play that we all get to share in.
And Jacqueline, I understand it was important for you to cast an actor with albinism, not just to find somebody and try to do it with makeup or something like that. Why was that important to you?
For all the work that I do, I want to be authentic. And like Emmanuel just said, when you have a topic that covers unrepresented voices, it is important to do your due diligence to find those voices. There are actors with albinism, you know, right here, right here, here he is, right? And so I think a lot of times, you know, sometimes we get into these discussions, you know, behind the scenes, and I'm always going to fight to make sure that those voices are honored and are present.
How did you find Emmanuel?
You know, that would be a good question for the artistic director, Julia Flood. I know she went to, how did she contact you?
Well, you know, it's funny. I was actually in Atlanta. I'd just done the Atlanta Unified auditions to break into the Atlanta theater scene. And I got a call back for the Aurora Theater's apprenticeship company. And I was interested in doing the show, but I'd also already been contacted by Tinashe Kajase, who was directing Ghost in Atlanta. And, you know, the auditions hadn't happened, but she was like, I really want you to do the show. So, you know, I was waiting through that process, and then Julia was referred me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There was a young woman who's the education director, Renita at Aurora Theater, who saw my work at the apprentice auditions, and they wanted me in, but I knew I couldn't do it in an apprentice company if I was working at the Alliance. But she referred me to Julia, and then Julia sent me an email, and now I'm here.
Was it a hard sell to get you to move to St. Louis in February?
Well, no.
No?
No. I'm originally
this is the bleakest time of year.
I'm originally from Chicago.
Oh, okay. So this is nothing for you.
No. I understand winter, but I will say I'm not necessarily a fan of how it'll go from 50, 40 degrees one day. It's great. And then it's snowing.
Welcome.
You definitely know St. Louis at this point.
Yeah,
yes, this is our chronic condition.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering for you, when you were a child, when did you become aware that you had a condition that was different than other kids?
Ooh, that's a great question. My mother and all my family, they were very supportive. And I even remember my mom had this book that I can't remember the name of it, but it was like this children's picture book that talked about complexions and how, you know, loving the skin that you're in. And, you know, she was very poignant about letting me know that understanding my condition and understanding who I was, but also understanding that it didn't matter. And in fact, my first word wasn't actually mom or dad or anything like that. It was hi, mirrored with a waving motion, because she didn't like the fact that people would just always stare at me. So, as soon as I could talk, I was just waving at people and saying hi to let them know that I see them seeing me. And yeah.
How were the other kids as a school kid?
It was fine at first, but really once you get into middle school, about where the age that Ghosts takes place, that's when things became a little bit more turbulent. I've dealt with a lot of bullies. Honestly, even before that, when I was 3, we were supposed to be going to Disney World for the first time. And this kid, for whatever reason, picked up one of those wooden, letter building blocks and threw it at me and busted my mouth.
Oh.
And chipped my tooth. Mom was not happy. And she immediately enrolled me in martial arts classes for self-defense.
She taught you how to fight back.
Yes, she did. But I didn't like to, I enjoyed it, but I didn't like to fight because I felt that people already thought that I was a monster. And so fighting back, I felt, would reaffirm that belief. So oftentimes I just took it until one day I came home and Mom was like, if you come home beat up again and the other kid doesn't look any worse, you're going to get beat up again by me. And so I took that to heart and started to stand up for myself.
Had to defend yourself.
Yeah.
You say you felt like other people looked at you like you were a monster. Did you find yourself internalizing that?
Oh, yes. I definitely did for a long time. Through probably most of middle school. We moved around a lot as a kid. When I was, for the second half of first grade through 5th grade, we lived in London, England, and I was in private school there. And I was exposed to a lot of the world. We got to travel to numerous countries and, certain parts of Africa, most of, a large parts of Europe. And so, I had a global perspective, which I was really blessed to have, but showed me how different people are and could be, and how, my uniqueness doesn't have to be this stigma. But unfortunately, that globalism isn't always fostered or taught here in the States. So when we moved back, when I was in the 6th grade, which is also when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it was a harder adjustment.
That was a lot to be dealing with, diabetes, and then, people's perceptions of this condition, and then you're in 6th grade, which is hard even as it is.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, with this play that's set here with young people in it, do you feel like Emmanuel's background has given him just a particularly good grounding for trying to grapple with these young adult issues?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, it's not by chance that he's here at this moment for this particular role in time. And I also, I wondered, I think halfway through the process, of how hard it is, or difficult rather, for you, or freeing, to be able to take the role, but also have to relive and reprocess, going back to that time in your particular life. That was something that struck me. I think it takes a lot of courage and strength to be on stage and tell your story, even though it's in a character form, but that it's so personal and that it resonates so closely with you. So that I thought about that a lot during the process.
Well, I honestly wish I was as cool as Lou.
Lou is pretty cool.
Oh man, Lou is the coolest. If I had Lou's confidence at 13, 14, oh man.
Yeah.
But there are moments in the show, especially I'm not going to give any spoilers for anyone who hasn't read it.
Don't give things away.
But there is one particular moment where the condition is addressed. That's always one of the hardest scenes for me to do. But it's important also because it shows, because Lou isn't necessarily being his best self in that scene. And then Ghost retaliates to defend himself, but it's born out of the fact that Lou is feeling insecure because he's this premier sprinter, and sprinting is what caused people to stop seeing him as this oddity that doesn't fit in society. And when someone comes in and takes that from him or threatens that, it leaves him with the choice of, well, if I'm not the fastest, then I'm just the white black boy, the albino, ugly, pasty kid, that all those other things that affirmations that he's built in for himself become null and void.
And so he lashes out.
Yes.
You mentioned being the black white boy. Are there unique challenges for someone with albinism in the African American community?
Oh, yes. Well, yes and no, because I honestly find that as I've gotten older, it's less of an issue of being able to fit in within my own community. It's actually more so the inverse, because due to my own mannerisms and facial structure, most people understand and recognize that I am an African American. But for others, it can be it's different, and they have more difficulty adjusting.
But for you, you feel confident. You don't.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't feel like you have to prove you're in this community.
No.
People know.
Yes.
That makes sense. Jacqueline, I know Metro is known for its question and answer sessions with the cast following performances. What sort of responses have you gotten to this character and this portrayal?
I think Emmanuel will probably be a better person for that because he's with the school matinees more so.
Oh, okay. So what kind of reaction have you gotten?
For a lot of the kids, the biggest question that they have is if I actually have albinism, or as they say, is he an actual albino? And because for most instances, it honestly probably either wouldn't have been, or they're only all they would have seen of it would mostly be probably the most recent example would be Tobias Whale on Black Lightning, which is one of the better interpretations that have been seen.
So this is unusual, and they want to know, is this for real? And you tell them it is. So last question here, just real quickly. I know the play, there's still a few shows left this weekend. Jacqueline, are there still tickets available if people want to see this?
Absolutely. We have a public performance Friday, 7 p.m., and Sunday at 2?
And we'll have that information on our website. That's stlpublicradio.org. We'll make sure to include that for people who want to join you. So Jacqueline Thompson, director of Ghost at Metro Theater, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
And actor Ernest Emmanuel Peeples, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.